And now we go over to Jan Leeming for a news report.
Fires are still burning in Brixton in South London after an evening of rioting. It began as a demonstration of anger after police had shot and seriously wounded a woman while searching her house. Then a crowd attacked the police station and gangs of youths began burning and looting buildings. 31 policemen and 5 civilians have been hurt. Mike Mackay has been at Brixton all evening.
It's always on the news, it's in the newspapers, it's all...
We do fear crime too much.
We fear crime a lot. Every channel you turn on television, it's all about crime.
You've got your papers,
Police chase,
on the internet,
helicopter chase,
and on the news particularly,
people being nasty,
bombarded with images which are quite horrific sometimes and make you feel fearful.
It's always bad, bad, bad.
If we started working together a little bit more and stopped spreading the fear, then I think that we could build a happier, better world.
Reports on public safety focus heavily on crime. Critical imagery and scenes are used to show authorities responding decisively to public disorder. However, there is a strong disconnect between the immediate actions of the authorities and long-term personal feelings on safety. It is easier to show bold images of police units, that is, to open discussion about individual perceptions of what safety means. In the USA, 30% of all news coverage time was spent discussing violent street crimes that only made up 2% of all personal crime cases, and this trend is unfortunately similar in UK. Reports on major incidents very much focus on immediate effects. But when was the last time you remember a coverage following up a major incident? Months, maybe years later, opening up dialogue with local people about the effects events have had on their lives and whether they feel safe after cameras left. Results and charges can be published, but very little is done to investigate unreported emotion response. It is difficult to pinpoint what safety means. Everyone has their own personal opinion on safety. It is an emotionally driven response to individual situation. The dictionary defines safety as a freedom from danger, risk, or injury. However, from our interviews alone, you can see the range of opinion that there can be. The feeling of safety is a fundamental emotion right everyone should be entitled to. And for the authorities to offer the public true safety, there must be an attempt to engage as many individual opinions as possible to create the broadest solution. When you engage community members and enable them to become a part of the decision-making process of their surroundings, this sense of ownership will only help to improve personal responsibility and respect to place. Creating and sustaining safety can be achieved through open community interaction. With better interaction, you can better increase your confidence. Investing in extra riot shields, buttons, and water columns is not the only way to deliver security, no matter what a city's reputation may lead you to believe. History can inform your approach, but achieving lasting safety needs to be driven by open discussion with community members about their aspirations, not their fears for the future.
Brixton has always been a town of extremes. From once being a leafy Victorian suburb, it became one of London's most densely populated and economically deprived communities. Proximity to the capital and good transport connections made it a popular area for people moving into an ever-expanding London. However, housing developments have never kept up with the population growth. Brixton has evolved as a town of transition and competition. After the Second World War and through to the 1980s, the government encouraged immigrating foreign populations to settle in Brixton. Because of its connectivity to the rest of London, the area was seen as a neighbourhood that would lead the city's modernisation, yet there was no cohesive effort to help integrate new populations into an already divided community. There was no conscious regeneration effort to help Brixton service its own population. This population was further burdened with poorly designed and isolated housing projects that separated marginalised groups. This caused both a physical separation and an entrenchment of the people of Brixton. The concentration of low-income communities and the lack of financial opportunities led to the area becoming a hotbed for resentment, tension and crime. Because of the high levels of civil disturbance in the town, it was targeted by strict policing efforts. Ground-level disturbances worsened and racial tensions deepened into the 1980s. The efforts to reduce street crime saw controversial sus laws extended. However, in reflection, it can be said that the extended actions of the authorities exposed the institutional racism of the Metropolitan Police. This blatant discrimination helped to galvanise the anger of marginalised minority groups. This tension spilled over into the 1981 riots. The riots were a monumental moment in the history of Brixton, which has left a lasting legacy that has given the town a stigmatised, negative reputation to the wider public. Image of violence and rioting on the streets have stained people's perception of Brixton, and the events of 2011 have further reminded people of Brixton's underlying problems. Should Brixton be defined by its troubled past alone?
Or does the history of its unique development offer its current residents the opportunity to share from each other's past experiences and build for a more united future?
Basically, I'm seeing Brixton as like the new West End. To be honest with you, Brixton is the place to be now.
I mean, Brixton is the place to be. If you can afford to live here, it's a fantastic opportunity.
I was speaking to someone and I was saying to them, Brixton is like whatever you need, it's in Brixton.
No, not really. No, I've never had the question really. You just have to look around now. It's it's changed massively from like 2 years ago, hasn't it? But obviously everywhere in London has its problems. But no, Brixton's very multicultural now, and as I said, I've got friends living from the city that are moving down here.
It's safer than it was before. I said in Brixton at the moment is improving.
It's the same as any part of part of London.
I don't really find myself unsafe in Brixton.
Yeah, it has. Because at one point it was like, when you work down there, do you feel safe? Yes, I do. I feel safer here than what I do in Stockwell, because no matter where I go in Brixton, there's someone I know.
The Brixton is alright, because we can see from different countries.
We all look out for each other like one big family, and you've got Afghanistans, you've got Jamaicans, you've got from every part of the world, and it proves that we all get on together no matter where you're from. We don't discriminate. That's it, end of story. Yeah. And about 4 or 5 years ago it was really quiet in here, and it was like, oh god, Brixton Market's coming to the room, no one's coming here anymore, and then all of a sudden we've got all the shops pop up and it's just brought everybody in, and it's just giving everyone a boost.
So, Brixton's changing every day, I think.
Yeah, I see a lot of change. I've only been training here for about over a year now, but I've been in and around Brixton.
Loads of people are coming into Zone 2 now. The prices have rocketed up.
It's more expensive to live here, so we're getting people who have got more money living here. That's what's happening.
You get a few people that say, oh, Brixton should go back to how it was. Really?
Yeah.
Why? You liked it when it was dead and there was no one here and the businesses were suffering? You've got to go with the changes. If you can't change with the changes, then there's no help for you. We're just all getting off scared. It's lovely. It's lovely.
In the dark side of town. Oh.
Throughout Brixton, there was a renewed optimism. The weight of the past had lifted, and the town felt like it was moving forward as a united group. It was difficult to pinpoint exactly when that shift happened, but from all the people we spoke to, it seems that the 2011 riots had a galvanising effect on everyone, and that has stayed with them since that fateful summer.
This unrest Brixton saw in the summer of 2011 was another violent chapter in the town's troubled past. The effect the riots had on the public feeling of safety cannot be underestimated, but given the context, it is clear to see the disorder was driven by opportunistic thuggery and did not represent the feelings of the community in the way past troubles had. It is easy to link these recent riots to violence of the past, but when you compare the fundamentals of the 1981 and 2011 riots, it is clear to see they have absolute differences. And it is because of these differences we can establish that Brixton has emerged as a transformed town from each incident. The 1981 riots were catalysed by blatant institutional racism, disillusioned groups united against police injustice to express anger at their marginalisation in society. The authorities eventually admitted that they dealt with the riots in a heavy-handed manner, but there was never a clear admission of guilt or uniting resolution. There was never a successful dialogue between local government and the people of Brixton about the lasting and undermining effects of 1981. Those who sympathised with the rioters galvanised together, and those who opposed extremism held on to great resentment. The failure to hold anyone accountable led to divisions and hatred throughout Brixton. Because divides were not bridged, the tensions of history survived. People did not feel like they were part of a united Brixton, they felt they were rooted in separate groups. Bricks and mortar were replaced, but Brixton never escaped its history of violence and crime, until the actions of a few in the summer of 2011 provoked a reaction from the wider public never seen before. A once divided community was drawn together. 2011 was different to 1981. The violence did not bring the disillusioned together, instead the public rallied against the violence. Decades of tension were put aside in an effort to bring Brixton back from chaos. The public reacted against a mob that did not represent any group of Brixton. Those involved were rejected as opportunistic looters and thieves with no clear political motive. The rioters had no deep-rooted resentment, it was those with a lust for violence and theft that led to disruption. It was all too easy for those outside of Brixton in August 2011 to immediately link what they saw unfolding on their television screens to what was seen in 1981. In an attempt to save the town from descending into the spiral that followed 1981, the people of Brixton united. This collective response to take the town back shows us the progress Brixton was prepared to make to move forward.
The 2011 riots brought unprecedented violence and chaos to the streets of London. However, it was not a single group that caused the unrest. The pockets of violence that broke out saw mixed groups challenging authority. Police faced escalating violence spreading throughout the capital, driven by a mob without a clear motive or direction. The riots were catalysed in Tottenham after the murder of Mark Dunham, but once news of unrest spread quickly across social media, intensified violence spread into full rioting across London. Authorities needed to calm the public and restore public safety as soon as possible. Over 4,000 people were detained during the 3 days of riots, and half of the detainees were charged in connection with the disorder. There was wide public support for police to use more aggressive tactics to tackle the rioters. However, senior officials resisted provoking further violence wherever possible. Once order had been restored, authorities looked to generate solutions that would ensure long-term stability. There was a need to bring confidence back to the streets of London and prevent any future outbreaks. Focus groups established the high levels of youth unemployment and urban poverty were a consistent problem in affected communities. Imminently, existing government initiatives designed to help education and social mobility, such as Strategy for Social Justice and the Plan for Growth, were given extra funding in an effort to engage those who have been marginalised by the old system. The riots catalysed an extension of programmes that reached out to London's most deprived communities after previous cutbacks by the Conservative government. This was a major reversal of policy direction, but the most significant government response to the 2011 riots was the admission by authorities that there needed to be more effort made to open up dialogue between London's decision makers and the community groups in the capital's most vulnerable areas. Following successful initiatives such as I Love Manchester Ardile Centre, responsibility was given to borough councils to find sustainable ways to keep more open dialogue with their people. There needed to be a better understanding about the ground level state of each of London's communities. There is a hope that future agendas can be designed with a more embedded community cooperation and a better understanding of what day-to-day life is like for London's people. This change in government approach will take time. It is impossible to set policy that makes immediate change while consulting large groups of people. All agendas set after the 2011 riots so far have led to a London-wide response. Does that make top-down response conclusive? When trying to bring confidence to the people of Brixton, governmental response can carry much needed weight. But to provide a relevant solution that generates a belief in safety, authorities need to encourage community groups to take a greater ownership of Brixton.
Although it is clear that the government has made some progress towards achieving better standards of community safety in Brixton, some of the work needs to include the community itself and so needs to come from the bottom up in order for the safer and more positive perception of Brixton to be maintained. The National Crime Prevention Council has some strategies that will be applicable in Brixton at a community level. The first of these is youth-led community projects that get children from local schools involved with cleaning up their area. This makes it less vulnerable to crime whilst working with local government, law enforcement and local businesses. The second of these strategies is citizen volunteers to prevent crime and encourage those in social housing to take back their area. This not only improves communication between residents and police, something that Brixton could benefit from, but it also would encourage Brixton's residents to take pride in and look after where they live. The third of these strategies is to use the media as an ally with the encouragement of positive news headlines and the publication of community achievements in order to alter the public's perception of Brixton and to reinforce crime opposition. The media can be used as a means to educate the public and to encourage residents to get involved with events. An external example of a community-led project is the Community Regeneration Partnership in Castle Vale in Birmingham. This was not a project specifically focused on reducing crime, but its success had the effect of reducing crime rates by 50% within a year, through support for deprived households, helping people find jobs, and through cleaning up their local area.
There are also examples to be found in Brixton. In addition, having policies is all well and good, but it's the people behind them that give policy strength. There are people that make up the community. If all of these culturally diverse individuals come together to form one voice, it presents a broader and more detailed analysis of what needs to be done within the community. Then true change can happen and a difference can be made. Everybody within the community has a voice. Each opinion is unique and helps to provide a greater depth when making decisions on the community's behalf. It's just a matter of being heard. As a collective, the community can set up projects to achieve specific goals. One of the most important ones is safety. A good example of a project that is beneficial is Brixton Green. This is helping to regenerate and develop Brixton, giving it a crisp new image. The community is made up of residents that have lived there their entire life. They have watched it rise and fall from a small quiet suburb to an economically deprived neighbourhood. As a group, they now want to make a change and to be the ones to guide it. Once projects like this are established, the local council and government are able to come in and provide important funding to stimulate it. The more people behind a single cause, the stronger it will be. In addition, it acts like a link between the community and the council. Through this, the council can offer support where and when it is needed. Brixton Green's project is growing in strength. The reason behind this is because it is not a policy that is imposed. It is a project that is driven by the local community. This leads to everyone in the community getting involved. As it is something that is created by the community, it is a thing of pride. It shows what the community can achieve. Another example of what can happen if authorities work closely with the community is the police community project in Brixton. This fresh idea helps to improve the perceived safety issue within Brixton. It includes voluntary members of the community who can offer help through monitoring CCTV cameras. This engages the community and shows them that the council can help them to move forward to make a change. Through the evidence we have gathered, it is clear to see that there is now a renewed optimism and flexible framework in place to better engage the local government with the community it serves. This change has been delivered in an effort to move on from past troubles. This will be a key turning point to ensure a lasting and sustainable safety for Brixton. However, everyone within the community needs to get involved to change Brixton's perceived image. This requires a bottom-up approach by the council. An effort needs to be made to reach out to those that are most vulnerable, those that have previously distanced themselves from the authorities. To deliver safety for everyone in Brixton's community, more needs to be done at community level. If this is achieved, Brixton can move on from its past and look forward to its future.